This is a quick update on my video from a couple days ago about tariffs. I covered Magic. I didn't mention Pokemon, but Pokemon is probably going to suffer from the same issues. And other collectible card games like Lorcana, Flesh of Blood, um, Sorcery. If the trade war goes on long enough for one of the yearly sorcery sets, HeroClix may very well be affected. It's made in China, but if it gets shipped to the United States and then shipped to Canada, Warhammer, from what I understand, it's made. It's a British product, but I don't know where it's made. And also, the people that I deal with for distribution are out of Tennessee, so I don't know, what the pass through nature of tariffs are. Like if something is, made in Great Britain, but just being shipped to Canada through the United States, I don't know, or even if we get shipments, are they coming from warehouses in Canada, and are those shipments coming of Warhammer coming from Britain to Canada, and the Tennessee sales are dealing with just the sales, and that the logistics are in Canada? I don't know. That goes for board games too, and that is just sort of a crapshoot. I don't know that many board games are made in the United States, but being a very large market, one would assume, much like Magic the Gathering, the game manufacturers have a warehouse in Canada, in the United States, that then ships out from there and into Canada. Quartermaster Logistics on Kickstarter. When you back a Kickstarter, often for North American fulfillment, people use something called Quartermaster Logistics. And as far as I know, it doesn't operate in Canada, but it does, it ships all over Canada. But I don't think it has its own warehouses in Canada. I think its warehouses are in the United States, so Kickstarter stuff could be affected. But also, if Quartermaster Logistics is doing that, then anything smaller than Quartermaster Logistics may very well be doing the same thing and using some sort of logistics company that's based in the United States, and therefore the price could be higher. Now, Asmodee is a European company, and they have operations in Canada because Asmodee Lion Rampant is a large distributor in Canada. It's one of my favorite distributors, if not my favorite distributor. And so the games that Asmodee makes themselves, one presumes, is shipping directly from wherever they're manufacturing it to Canada. They may very well also ship to the States and have their warehouses there, but I think that they could be able to adjust. They've mentioned that a lot of their products will be able to avoid the tariffs for that reason. But then there's other games that are not made by them, and they're made all around the world. Europe being a main place for, I guess, games to be assembled, but a lot of the manufacturing is done in China. And I guess it depends on, what sea cans it goes on, what slow boat it takes, and what route it takes, whether it's going to Europe to be assembled, whether it's being dropped off in Vancouver or California or Seattle or Washington State or whatever ports of entry it enters, and then it goes to the States and then gets to Canada. And again, don't know what the pass-through rule is on tariffs. So essentially what I'm saying is that all this stuff is on a case-by-case basis. And when you go to order something, and if you've pre-ordered something at a certain price, that price is going to change when it comes to shipping. And if you're going to a store and your local game store has ordered something, they're now very well going to pay more for it if they've pre-ordered it. And if they've, they're restocking stuff, that price may go up. So if you notice prices going up, that's why they have to put the prices up. And for the stuff that they've ordered and brought in, like, for instance, there's a lot of stuff on my shelves that, were, purchased over a year ago to, a week ago to a month ago, whatever. none of that stuff was affected by tariffs, and therefore I don't have to raise the prices on that. If I restock any of it and it's affected by tariffs, then I may have to raise the price, and that's going to be true for a lot of stores. So I guess stores that are deep in stock, if this goes on for too long, can survive it a little bit more because they'll at least have stuff to sell. But that presumes that that's what people want to buy. And if it's still on your shelves, you know, that's suggests that it doesn't sell that well, right? So it's great to have lots of stock, but if it's not selling, then is it going to sell in the future? Magic the Gathering and Pokemon are essential for most game stores, and their prices are going to go up, and therefore, the consumer is going to have to pay more. And is that going to cause them to buy less? And is that going to cause them to maybe bow out entirely? Is that going to cause a shrinking in the market? We don't know yet. And again, this is mostly just affecting Canada at this point in time because Canada doesn't have. I don't know of many games manufactured in Canada, and certainly no collectible card games at this point. There was one indie game that used a Canadian printer, but again, I haven't heard of anyone using a Canadian printer since. That may change, but I wouldn't hold your breath, and we have no idea how long this could go on for. So the longer it goes on, the worse it gets for stores, the worse it gets for consumers. And, does this cause the market to shrink and for sales to go down, even with, there's going to be higher prices, but you don't get to capitalize on those higher prices because it's not that 25% isn't your margin. That's an extra cost. So, will there also, let's say something costs $100 right now. Let's say you as a store buy it for $80 and you add $20 to it and charge $100, and so therefore you have a 20% markup because that's somewhere, it's not in the middle, it's about, I don't know, it's sort of average markup for games, right? Now you add 25% to that, now it's $125. And then your margin is still only the $20, but now it's not 20%, it's less than 20%. And so technically your margin has gotten smaller because that price is higher, which means that less of it moves by whatever percentage. Let's say it's 5% less likely to move. Therefore, you need to be able, to capitalize on that slower movement by having higher margins, and that offsets how long it stays on your shelf. And that's one of the things about game stores is that, at least with Pokemon and Magic and other collectible card games and Warhammer, things quickly move off the shelf. Therefore, having 20% margins as an average, although it's probably lower than that, the average, makes it, feasible that you could continue to survive. But if it goes below that, if it goes below 10%, you need really high volume to be able to sustain under 10% margins, right? You need what Diriams and then later Rudy were doing, and then anyone who copied Rudy with the Patreon thing, making $1 a box, $5 a box. Well, you need to move thousands of boxes, but most stores aren't doing that. So the cost, increases because you're keeping that thing on the shelf and you're not recovering the the capital and using that capital to then buy more product, to then sell, to then recover capital. And like I said, the thing costs you $80, you add $20 to it, you have a 20% margin on it. But now you're going to be charging $125, and instead of selling in a week, it sells in 3 weeks at you have 18% margin, so it's been there longer. You've had less access to capital to bring in other stuff, and this continues to go on, this trade war. Then things just start accumulating on shelves, and you have no recovery of capital, and your costs have to go up even more. I mean, the price of the products have to go up even more. I don't really know the math. I'm not a math guy. I just know that, the more you keep stuff on your shelves and the more you accumulate and the less that you sell, it's not good. So that's sort of my update on the tariffs and the trade war as it applies to game stores. If you're interested, and if you can, you've got a local game store that's near you, wherever you are in Canada. Even in the States, there may be an effect to game stores that I don't know about, but go there, spend some time there, talk to them at least, maybe buy something. But again, you're not going to want to increase your spending when prices start to rise, and the prices themselves are the. So not only are the tariffs going to raise the price on their own, but by having less sales overall, these companies need to increase their prices to increase their margins because they're selling less. So I think that's how it works. If I'm wrong, let me know. But it's not good right now, and it's not good for your local store. So, help them out if you can. And I'm doing okay, and I think I'm going to do fine. And even if there's problems with the store, or they can't recapitalize, can't bring in more product or whatever, it doesn't really affect me that much. I'm not too concerned. But if you're concerned about the health of the local game store market, then help them out. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.